you ever been homeless or have any friends who have been homeless?
No, I haven't.
Nah, never had one friend.
No. No.
In the area where I'm from, Morristown, New Jersey, I don't think there are a lot, but I can imagine in like big cities that there'd be a decent amount of teens who have problems with their family and just decide to leave, have nowhere to go.
I've never known anyone to be homeless like where I grew up, but I'm sure there are in different places.
No, just when my friend her house burned down, so she wasn't really homeless, but she didn't have a home, but you know, she moved somewhere else.
Yes, I've been homeless and my friends have been homeless.
For any reason?
Drugs. And that's how faith comes in my life.
Yeah, and I had a lot of friends that were homeless too. It all had to do with drugs.
My friend was actually homeless until we took him in.
I myself, I've been, as you could say, fairly well off, so I've not had a problem. But there are other people that I know that have not exactly been homeless, but they've been kicked out of their house, if you want to say, and they've been having to go to friends' houses to stay. So yeah, I know some people that have gone through a rough time.
Have you or any of your friends ever been homeless or like kicked out of your home, run away?
Yeah, and well, not completely put out on the street, but faced some hard times, and I tried to be there for the most I could and helped her out. Yeah, I've helped them out and try and get them back together with whoever kicked them out of their house.
Do you know someone who has been homeless?
Experts say that between 1.3 and 2.8 million youth experience homelessness every year in the United States.
So it is likely, according to the website youthnoise.com, that you go to school with someone who has lived on the street at some point, at least temporarily.
Homeless teens and what we can do to help. That's what we'll be talking about today. Hi everyone, I'm Jack.
And I'm Catherine.
And this is Realfaith TV.
Quite a few of the teens on the street knew someone who was homeless.
And a couple of them experienced homelessness themselves.
I think that we'll discover today that there are many more homeless teens than we realize.
And that our definition of homelessness might be a little narrow.
We have two spotlight guests today. Jessica, who is a school outreach counselor at Anchor House, a shelter for homeless teens in Trenton, New Jersey.
And John, who is homeless and is learning life skills at Anchor House's transitional living program, The Anchorage.
We'll hear from our studio guests, but first let's go back to the teens on the street and find out what they think are the causes of homelessness among teenagers.
And if they think there are any misconceptions surrounding homeless teens.
I think homelessness is a problem, but I don't think there are a lot of homeless teens in society.
I don't think there's really a problem, but there's probably some out there. I just don't know a lot of them.
Personally, I don't know any homeless teenagers who are my age, but I'm sure there are.
I believe there is a problem with society with homeless teens.
It's depressing because you go to like New York City or something and you see all the homeless people and I don't know, you just want to do something but you can't.
People without homes, I can't imagine doing it. If I was in that situation, I'd be in trouble.
There's way too many homeless teens out there, but I think they all got their own personal story. But I think drugs has something to do with every person's story who's out there homeless.
A lot of homeless teens are because of drugs, and it is a problem because they think they can make it on their own. They think they can do everything on their own, and it's like they get out there and they can't, and that's where their life just goes down the drain.
They run away and try to get their own life.
Like maybe their parents just don't want to do anything for them, or their parents are like tired of them like just acting up and not acting responsible. Maybe they could just be poor and their parents aren't like around to help them.
Yeah, I think there is some misconceptions. Like people really don't think there is like homeless people out there, but there is.
I would never imagine that many people were homeless. I think that's a misconception. And also that they're bad, that's why they're in the streets, but I don't think it's because they're bad.
A lot of times homeless people are just down on their luck, and as a community, a lot of people just look at homeless people as people that have done things wrong.
People always assume the worst and think that it's always the teen's fault, and maybe sometimes they just weren't raised right or weren't cared about enough.
A lot of the time it's a circumstance that they have in their life that most people don't usually have, and it's something they can't control.
I think a lot of people are too quick to judge. They label them as dirtbags, they don't know their whole life story. They don't know what they've gone through. They don't know if they're running away from getting beaten when they get home. They don't know what they're going through. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people who are growing up in alcoholic homes. Parents are drug addicts. They get beaten, and they got nowhere else to go.
I definitely agree with that, because there's a lot of misconceptions about homeless people these days. Like when you picture a homeless person, I mean, you're not picturing like a normal person who maybe had some circumstances like a natural disaster or something. You're picturing like a scruffy guy living under a bridge or something. Let's see what our studio guests know about this topic.
Let's meet them. They are Elias, Marissa, Ian, Alex, Katie, and Jessica.
So, have any of you guys known a teenager who's been homeless?
Yeah, there's this girl at my school who, she's a really good girl and everything. She just got involved in the wrong crowd, and her parents kicked her out of the house until she could get her act straightened up. And she's back home now, and she's doing good, so.
I knew somebody whose house burnt down, and they had to live in a hotel for a good amount of time, like outside their school district, so I know it was like really hard for them, and it was a big commute.
Has your family ever worried about losing a place to live because of hard times?
Or like unemployment bills, you know, crisis?
Well, when my aunt died of cancer last year, she had to have like chemotherapy quite frequently, so the bills kept piling up and up and up and up. And she had a 10-year-old son and a husband, and they already lived in a log cabin, so, you know, but luckily they got through it. My family kind of like pitched in.
My family's always been renting. We've only owned a house once, and it wasn't for very long. But it's kind of a situation where you don't have a lot of control over how much money you're going to have to put towards the increasing rate it can be. And it's been one of those things where we'll definitely need to move every so often just to keep prices down and to be able to live in the manner to which we're accustomed, you know?
How about, has your family ever helped someone else who needed a place to stay because of hard times?
I know my aunt was in a flood last year, and they were in between housing because they didn't want to live in the flooded house because of mold. And they stayed with us for a little while so they could get back on their feet and find an apartment to live in.
I know there was someone living with my cousins for one reason or another, but I think his parents didn't want him back in the house, and my cousins took him in for a short amount of time so he could get his life back on track.
Yeah, when I was little, my mom's best friend went through a pretty nasty divorce, and she didn't have much money and she didn't have a place to live, so we let her and her younger daughter came in and lived with us for about a year.
You know, these are all really good examples, but they're not the ones we're used to hearing. You know, they're about real kinds of homelessness, not just people living on the streets.
Yeah.
What are some of the misconceptions surrounding homeless teenagers?
And what can we do to help?
Jessica from the Anchor House Shelter for Homeless Teenagers answers these questions next.
Let's check it out.
They're tossed around a lot from one place to another. Once they're in the system, the DIFAS system, homeless children, they often, you know, don't really get to go to school because they may be here for 30 days, there for 30 days. So education are usually lacking behind. We've seen a lot of teen pregnancy, using sex as a means for a place to live, and drug abuse because it's just out there and that's how they cope with, you know, having to have sex. So a lot of heart-wrenching stuff's going on just for these teens to survive. A lot of times there's family problems that contribute to homelessness. There's, you know, a lot of gang activity, economic issues, lack of housing, lack of employment, and lack of resources overall. I think people believe that homelessness is a choice. I don't think it's a choice at all. I think there's misconceptions that like homelessness is a matter of people drinking too much or mental illness, or because, you know, you're a certain race or a certain gender, a certain economic class, and it's not true. You and I can become homeless today, you know, our houses can burn down and, you know, we don't have anything to back it up. So homelessness can happen to anyone. There's so many things that people can do to help. You know, just reaching out and giving a couple hours of your time to some of these kids and the families. Mentors are needed greatly. These kids don't see anything positive, and, you know, just give them a glimpse of hope and, you know, seeing what life can be is just, it's amazing to see their eyes just light up and them having hope. But, you know, taking them to church, You know, it's wonderful just taking them to church and maybe out to lunch with the family after church, and just letting them know someone cares is good. In addition to that, you know, monetary support is always helpful. Also tutoring, we need tutors and clothing donation. And just, I think basic prayer for these kids is something that'll help.
There, but for the grace of God, go I, or any of us. Really, if you think about it, like Jessica said, we could become homeless tomorrow if our house burnt down.
Or a natural disaster could sweep our home away.
Just like the hurricanes last year in Florida during the summer.
Also, the tsunami floods in Indonesia, I mean, those people, even though they have weather like that, they didn't expect it.
The wildfires a few years ago, too.
Yeah, we have a lot of problem with that out in California.
It's not something you can prepare for, you know, it's just...
Yeah, definitely, because, like, you know, people then don't have anywhere to go, so they become homeless, but not your usual vision of homeless people. Stereotype, yeah.
Even a little closer to home, I had my mom's one friend got struck by, like, their house got struck by lightning, and luckily their house didn't burn down, but, like, anything could have happened. And their chimney is destroyed now, and they have no power still, and it's just really horrible, and it could really happen to any of us.
Yeah, there's things that we can't control, like that, like tornadoes and big storms and stuff like that. That could just change your life in an instant.
Did you know that every year more than 127,000 youth are thrown out of their homes?
Every day, a youth ages out of the foster care system and is at risk of becoming homeless.
Every 47 seconds, a child is abused.
And every 26 seconds, a child runs away from home.
Next, our other Spotlight guest, John, tells us why he ran away from home and how the Anchorage, a transitional living program, is helping him to learn what's necessary to build a life for himself and live independently.
I was born originally in Hungary, actually, and I was adopted by American parents at age 7. I have 2 younger brothers, and we fought like dogs all the time, and that pretty much brought down my aspects of the morals of a core family, and I was just like, you know, why am I here? My dad and I started not getting along, and my mom was just stressing out all the time over nothing. I guess I just pretty much told myself that I'm gonna be independent eventually or soon, because like I couldn't wait to get out of that house. Like 12 years of living in Hopewell, I moved to Trenton to be on my own. And then that was when I found Anchorage. They gave me life skills and taught me how to be independent. And how to deal with the outside world. If something was amiss or I did something wrong, they weren't afraid to let me know, and they knew, you know, how to go about fixing a problem, and I was just able to trust in them a lot easier than I would with my parents or my family. I've become a lot more confident in myself, knowing that, you know, when a certain situation comes up, I know how to deal with it.
Have any of you thought about running away from home, even if just for a moment?
Well, I'm sure like everybody does at some point. I know like as kids, I know I thought about it for a while, like as a kid, but it wasn't like anything serious. Never really followed through with it. But I had like a whole plan set up, and now looking back on it, I knew that would never work.
It's always when you're going through the roughest time or you're in a big fight with your parents that you just can't resolve, that you're always saying, all right, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, and then you just never do it.
Yeah. It's at times like that where you just want to leave the house, you know what I mean? You can't wait to leave, but then later it kind of just, you know, settles back down.
I remember when I was little, I had like big fight with my mom, and I packed up my suitcase, and I don't even think it had anything in it, but I just took it with me and I walked down the street and realized, wait a minute, I don't need to run away from home, I can just talk to my mom. So I went back home, but if you're frustrated, you want to leave. Like, it happens all the time.
I know, not just like running away from home, but these days I'm like, I can't wait till I go to college, you know. I'm oldest of 5, and that could get pretty intense. I'm just kind of like, oh, let me out of here.
Yeah, I know when I get really frustrated with my mom, I just tend to kind of run away and to find to my friends and stuff like that, and I'll just spend a lot of time with them away from my house. So I guess that's running away in a sense.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because when I'm frustrated, I usually read, because I can go, you know, into different, almost like different worlds, you know. So it's not necessarily running away, it's just running away in your own sense, you know.
I just kind of like to avoid the problem, all in all. Like, I'll go on a bike, or I'll go and work out, and I'll just do something where where I don't have to talk to anyone, and I can just get all my frustrations out.
I do the same thing. I like to run when I get that feeling where I need to get out of the house. I'll go over to my school and run on the track, and I just get to think about how can I resolve this problem, and that keeps me from wanting to leave my home.
Well, a lot of times it's like my faith that helps, you know, keep me together with my family, you know, honor their father and mother and everything. So just keeps me together and loving everybody. So how can our faith help teenagers who are homeless?
Can faith really make a difference in what may seem like a hopeless situation?
Next, Jessica and John tell us how difficult it can be to see God when you are homeless and hopeless.
They're constantly being pushed down, and you know, they feel like there's no way out. And I think as a child and a teen, it's hard to think that, you know, there's anyone out there that's, you know, really in control and that loves them that much, and they still are in those situations. So I think it's hard for them to see that, you know, there is a God. I think that's a constant struggle.
I'm Christian. I'm not very spiritual, though. I hate going to church. As I grew older, I stopped praying to God as much, and just kind of focused more on what was there than what I really believed in.
Do you have a relationship with God?
If I do, it's not as strong as it should be.
Has it helped you get through difficult times?
Actually, I think it has. But either way, it doesn't seem like it would make a huge difference. I wasn't really ever big on prayer. I mean, you know, the family sat around the dinner table. We said our grace, you know, we said our bedtime prayers, and that was about it. If I lost something, I'd be like, God, let me help me find this, you know. I wasn't really, like I said, I wasn't really, you know, spiritual. I pray to God sometimes if I have a friend who really needs help and I can't really be there physically to support them, and I'll feel like I have no one else to go to but God, then, you know, so be it.
It's sad to me to think that someone could not have a home, but also to feel that they don't have God in their life.
It has to be pretty lonely without God.
Faith may be hard to find among homeless teenagers, but next, Jessica tells us about a couple of experiences she has had where faith made all the difference in the world.
Working with the girls at the shelter, a lot of times they come in and you know, they're either pregnant or they've just had an abortion and so forth. And it's hard when they don't have faith. It's hard to try to give them something to hope for. And I think a lot of times that's where faith falls into, is giving them hope and something else to focus their mind on. And, you know, someone else is in control. We had a 17-year-old girl have a miscarriage earlier this year, and she had strong faith in God, and something that I don't think I could have gotten through as easy as she did. And she was very strong, and she prayed, and you know, it was wonderful. And now she's doing really well, and you know, we were able to get her with a supportive family. You know, this one young girl in particular, she was only 14 when she became pregnant, and she came in and had no faith, no belief, and kind of was hopeless. She had an abortion prior to that. You know, she was on the streets and she was prostituting to kind of live. So we hooked her up with a Christian program in Pennsylvania, and she stayed there. She had her baby. Amazing results. She came to know the Lord, and it was just amazing. It's really, really amazing. But she has the baby, and it's a complete turnaround. And yeah, she's a 15-year-old girl with a baby, but she's getting in school, and now she has some support people that she can use. And talking to her, she still struggles, but talking to her, she has that faith, and she has that higher power to look into rather than down that lonely road.
I think that one of the best things we can do is pray about this problem. Just like Jessica said earlier in the show, teens that are homeless need our prayers.
Prayer can get people through the most difficult situations.
Prayer also changes hearts. If we pray about it, maybe we will find a way to really change some of the things that cause teens to become homeless.
So what are some other ways that faith communities can help homeless teenagers, guys?
Well, I know church programs have places where you could make casseroles for homeless people and bring it to one of the houses that they have in Trenton or Philadelphia. And a lot of people do that at church, and I think there are a lot of ways to get connected to helping people through your church. You just find the right one for you.
Well, my church does a lunch break program where they'll bring in a bunch of stuff to make sandwiches, get a bunch of people, and they'll make a bunch of sandwiches and snacks and stuff, put it all in bags, then make a couple hundred of these, and then put them in a van and take them down to the lunch break place to hand them out. And then sometimes take up a second collection and everything. So there's a lot of ways.
Yeah, my school actually has a part during the school day where you can do service. And every day there's something going on for either a homeless program or some program that helps people in need in our area. And there's just so many ways to reach out and help other people. Many homeless teenagers suffer from psychological problems and have health issues because of malnutrition.
And without a permanent address, it can become difficult to complete their education, hold a job, or get any kind of assistance.
Some teenagers would rather brave the streets than be sent home or placed in foster care.
This is difficult to believe when you know that homeless teenagers are constantly at risk of becoming victims of violence and crime.
So what are some other ways that people can help?
That's what we asked the teens on the street.
Let's check it out.
What can individuals do? Yeah. Maybe help out more and just look out, I guess. I don't know. That's a hard question.
I think that individuals can just try to help people out, donate to charities, and that's really all we can do about homelessness.
Donating money.
No idea.
Be more understanding. Well, with teens, parents, kick their kids out, they don't really understand why, I don't even think parents understand. There's got to be a lot of understanding. I think they should, respect their parents and do stuff that they're told to do because they should respect their elders.
And they're to respect themselves as well as others more.
Just be there for your friends and try and keep them out of trouble and make sure that they make all the right decisions. And, if they need someone to talk to, just always be there for them. And just try and keep everything civil.
Make everyone aware that not everyone lives as good as you.
There are tons of ways, even teenagers can help out. They can go out there, they can do what they need to do. They have to go to these soup kitchens. They have to, ideally, of course, would be, if their parents would let a person in, take them in just until they can start getting back on their feet. That would be the best way, but a more realistic would be helping out in soup kitchens and such.
Have different groups come together and talk about it, do different activities to help them, with shelter homes and stuff like that.
Shows like this, I guess.
Just don't judge them, you know what I mean? Just don't judge them right off the bat. We're living in America, you know what I mean? You should be able to help some people out, and there's a lot of rich snobs out there that think they're too good to throw people a penny here and there. I think people need to check themselves up before they start judging other people.
People should just keep an open mind, and because usually when people are homeless, people don't offer them jobs or anything to help them get off their lowest point, and people should just be more open to letting them start over.
The last two teenagers didn't talk about donations or programs. They talked about changing ourselves, changing our attitudes, and the way we react to people who are homeless.
Yeah, we definitely have to be more open to homelessness.
Yeah, I know one of my friends was in D.C. and he did a program where he was homeless for 3 days, and he met the people, and he actually found out that each of them has a certain circumstance. They're not just like, you know, mistakers, you know what I mean?
And there are ways to prevent homelessness, like programs such as Habitat for Humanity, which is done all over the globe. And
my cousin did that in Africa.
yeah, I did it recently in Bucks County for the 2nd year in a row. And basically, we get to meet the people who we're building the houses for people who can't afford those high-priced houses. But it's basically a program to keep people off the streets and keep them under a roof, so they're not homeless.
Yeah, programs like that where you actually get to meet the people and work with the people when they're building the house really gives you a new respect for their circumstances and for their lifestyle.
And you know, we can't close our eyes to the homeless teenagers among us.
We can't pretend that we don't know the problem exists or that we have no responsibility.
Our faith challenges us to make a personal response to the needs of our neighbors.
Once a scholar of the law asked Jesus what he needed to do to inherit eternal life.
Jesus told him to love God and to love his neighbor as himself.
The scholar replied, "And who is my neighbor?"
Jesus answered with the parable of the Good Samaritan, retold for us in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 10.
Then Jesus asked the scholar which of the 3 people in the parable was neighbor to the victim.
And the scholar replied, "The one who treated him with mercy."
Jesus said to him, "Go and do likewise."
Jesus says the same to us.
If you want more information on homelessness or have a story to share,
contact us through our website. We'll have links posted to Anchor House and other organizations and hotlines on homelessness.
the address is www.realfaithtv.com.
Or you can call us at 609-406-7402.
And remember, we are all responsible for our neighbors.
We read in the book of Sirach, chapter 17, that human kindness is as precious as life itself.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on
Real Faith TV.
God bless.